Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Checkers Your Wreckers podcast. I am your host, Carter Leonard, and as you are probably watching this, the truck race at Martinsville is probably going on as of right now, or it may be delayed due to weather, as there have been talks about rain possibly moving in and threatening to postpone the race or at least put it under a temporary red flag. But for the time being, you are on the Checkers or Wreckers podcast watching this show. I am your host, Carter Leonard, ladies and gentlemen, and yeah, let's get right into this episode, ladies and gentlemen. This won't particularly be an hour-long episode like last week, considering there wasn't a whole lot to talk about this week, but there definitely was some things that that need to be discussed, and it's another race recap weekend. And a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. First things first, let's get into the race recap. NASCAR made its annual trip to Bristol Dirt with both the trucks and the Cup Series. Xfinity Series had a vacation. They had a week off for this week, and which I never really understood why they always had a week off, but then again, it's whatever, I guess. So let's start off. We're going to go race by race like we normally do with every race weekend that we talk about, and we're just going to discuss the races. So, the truck race on Saturday night. It was a truck race at Bristol Dirt. Nothing really too chaotic, I would say. It wasn't a complete shit show, I would say that, but the reason why I'm kind of on about it is because, well, Joey Logano, who was in the number 66 Door Sport racing truck, ended up dominating the whole race. I am pretty sure he led every single lap. Correct me if I'm wrong, or at least it felt that way. But it's really it's a leech race. So you get what you get, I guess. Haley Deegan ran solidly well. She ran about 13th, even though I expected her to have a top 5 and top 10 after her decent performance at Texas the previous week. But you take what you could get, I guess. So not really a whole lot to say about the Truck Series race, considering that it was a normal truck race on Bristol Dirt and Joey Logano was the winner. But the probably the most notable highlight of that entire race, I would say, is if you keep up with NASCAR Twitter at all, and as a Kyle Busch fan myself, you will probably notice him, but Dalton Good, majority of the race was flipping off Joey Logano, and Joey Logano even said, I got distracted for a guy flipping me off in the stands. So, yeah, so I guess there's the funny involved, so there's that. But I guess that's the only really positive thing you can really talk about the truck race. Not really listen, I don't hate Joey Logano, but at the same time, there wasn't really a whole lot else to talk about considering the fact that he dominated the race. So, moving on. And now we come to the third annual Food City Dirt Race. Now, the week before, in last week's episode, I really questioned how good or how long SMI is really going to keep this Dirt Bristol thing up necessarily, because of the fact of, well, one, all the weekends that these races have happened, they have all been, rain has intervened them, if you want me to. Rain has pretty much kind of took over during the weekends of those events, and it's the South, it's the springtime, it's typically the rainy season down there, and you're really not expecting all sunshine and rainbows down there. Just gonna I don't live in the South, but I've been in the South during the spring, and it's not necessarily the funnest thing that you could possibly think of. So yeah. When it comes to weather-wise, I should say the South is always fun, especially if you're going to go to towns like Tennessee, not towns like Tennessee, Guy Carter, like cities like Nashville or, Knoxville or anything like that. Those are really nice cities to go to. But anyway, back on track. But yeah, we really question how good this race was going to be on Sunday. And after the Cup Series race, I am on the bandwagon with saying that a dirt race on the Cup Series schedule should happen. But in my opinion, it really shouldn't happen at Bristol. And I can understand why people want it to be there, but but I also understand why people don't want to be there for a dirt race, and I can understand the minority. First of all, Bristol in the springtime is I'm going to save that for later. I'm going to save this discussion for later. So the racing itself, when there wasn't a slew of cautions going on, the racing itself was actually pretty solid for dirt racing standards. For Cup cars on dirt standards, it was a pretty solid event. It was, there was some good racing, and finally, a dirt guy won. Christopher Bell for Joe Gibbs Racing picks up his first win of the 2023 season, and as of right now, Christopher Bell is the current Cup Series point leader. He has the most top fives of anyone. He is tied with the most top tens with the 48 of Alex Bowman. And so far, the 20 car is looking to be the best car at Joe Gibbs Racing right now. And I think it's been that way for the past year and a half or so. I mean, when you look at the 20 car and its previous history before Christopher Bell got that ride, it was yet a long time veteran in Tony Stewart. Then he went off and did his own thing with Stewart Haas Racing. Then you get Matt Kenseth, which he spent about maybe like 4 years there. Actually, 5 seasons there, retired. Then you have Eric Jones, who lasted about 3 seasons. And then in 2021, you get Christopher Bell, and now you're just waiting to see, Christopher Bell, he's going to be like the rest of them. He's going to get thrown to the side of the curb like every other JGR 20 car driver. But no, Christopher Bell proved so far in his tenure in the 20 car that he is the man inside that car. And in my opinion, he is the lead driver for the future of Joe Gibbs Racing. You got a lot of guys. You have, Kyle Busch left, Ty Gibbs is in. And then you have 2 guys, Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr., who are eventually going to retire. And then you're going to have guys like Sammy Smith and probably John Hunter Nemechek in those 2 rides. So I think JGR just found their new lead role when it comes to their Cup Series program. And Christopher Bell is definitely their driver. So far, 5 career wins with that team in his career. And he got it done on dirt. I mean, a lot of people really talked about how it actually took this long to see a dirt guy actually win on the Bristol Dirt track. And it surprised me too, because the first year, you didn't really have that big of a dirt guy. Joey Logano ended up winning the first Bristol Dirt race. And technically, there should have been one last year between Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe, but we all know how that one turned out. The Kyle Busch fan and me laughing. And but third time was the charm, and Christopher Bell ended up getting it done. And he led a solid good portion of the race. And I believe Tyler Reddick ended up finishing second. Yeah, he did end up finishing second. And it was a last lap caution, but I don't think even if the yellow didn't fly out, I don't think Reddick was necessarily close enough to catch him. I think that was really Christopher Bell's race to lose at that point, and he deserved it. He got it done, and now he is locked into the playoffs, and now the current points years later. So, yeah, good job, Christopher Bell. Who knows? Maybe Christopher Bell may be the next title threat for not in Joe Gibbs Racing, but in NASCAR. I mean, he's really showing that he is doing what he needs to do. So congrats to Christopher Bell and the 20 team. I like Bell a lot. He's going to do good things. So, yeah, that was the race weekend recap, and it took about damn near 10 minutes of the show. Yeah, so a solid weekend for racing on dirt. I really expected the Cup race to kind of be this chaotic shit show, but it definitely surprised me. It really definitely surprised me a lot, and I will say it's not a it's not a shit show of the race. If you're gonna keep it, then keep it, I guess. But now it moves on to the next topic regarding Bristol Dirt, and that is this the long-term future for SMI? Now, this may take up majority of the show, but it may not. So, who knows exactly? Well, I know because, well, I'm the timekeeper, ladies and gentlemen. You see, I'm the one that makes everything go around in this place. So, yeah. All right. So, I mentioned last week how I don't think Bristol Dirt is the long-term future. And in my opinion, I still don't think it is, but I think this past weekend's race really changed my perspective on this race because of the fact of when there isn't a lot of shit happening, when everything is just cool, calm, and collective, the race in itself is actually really good and it's actually worth watching. But it's really it's all going to depend on this of mine. Now, what I've noticed over the past few years, and I've actually, because I've watched every single Bristol Dirt race, I'm pretty sure any NASCAR fan these days have watched all of those. During the race, during like the Fox broadcast of the race, they would normally announce, like Bristol Motor Speedway and SMI, they would announce that, oh, the dirt is coming back next year, 2021. Oh, the dirt's coming back in 2022. Oh, announcement, the dirt's coming back in 2023. This year, I did not hear any announcement saying that Bristol Dirt is coming back next year. Now, that could be just a small, not a big coincidence or anything like that. It may just, because it may not be necessarily nothing, but I do really find that kind of interesting because they would normally announce it during the Fox broadcast, but this time they're not really they didn't do it this time. So now that makes me question, is Bristol Dirt going to have a date next year? And right now in this show, I am here to talk about what do I think the possible future is for this race. And I've seen a lot of people say that, oh, well, they should return to concrete. The concrete is better. But here's the thing. Before we even did Bristol Dirt, the spring races at Bristol, there was so limited attendance in that race. There was no one even sitting. You can literally look up images of those races and you would not find anyone sitting in like turns 1 through 4. Like the attendance of those races were so bare and minimum. They were depressing. It just didn't look. It looked like a truck race, which I'm not saying truck races are going to get the best turnout either, but like it looked like that. And you really start to think, okay, well, if that's not going to work, then what else can you do? So I have possibly 3 valuable solutions. 2 of these may work, and 1 of these may not work. Now, I'm going to go with the most likely here, and I'm going to say this. I think, and a lot of people are not going to agree with my opinion or decision making on this one, but at the same time, it's just an idea. It's not the proposed plan. It's not any of that. So don't freak out or anything like that, ladies and gentlemen. But what I think they can do is they will take out that Bristol date entirely and put in North Wilkesboro. That's idea number 1. I think if the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, which is coming up next month in May, if that has really good turnout, like if that has a really good turnout, because Wilkes County, they love their racing. You saw how they turned out for late model races and stuff like that. If that track gets really good turnout, then I can 100% see a points-paying race being played out there. A lot of people are like, oh, well, it doesn't have the capacity. Bitch, it's going to have the capacity to host an all-star race, so I don't know what you guys are complaining about. But anyways, you take out that Bristol date entirely and put in North Wilkesboro and give it a points race. It would be really... Now, don't get me wrong. Bristol, in my opinion, probably one of the most, if not the most popular track in all of NASCAR. I mean, Bristol, it speaks for itself. The last great Coliseum. It has so much history there. It has, any iconic moment that you could probably think of, it has happened at Bristol. Close finishes, brawls, anything out of the ordinary, it happened at the last great Coliseum. However, with that being said, attendance figures matter. They really do. And I will say, because I've been to Bristol before, I went to the night race last year, and I will say that while not a complete and total sellout crowd, it was a bigger crowd than what you would see at the Bristol Dirt race. I am just going to say that right here, right now. And I mean, that's not even an opinion necessarily. That's just common knowledge at this point. I mean, you have... Let's just say, I don't even know how much Bristol can exactly sit exactly. I don't know, those attendance numbers, so to speak. I don't know, well, not attendance numbers, but I don't know what their capacity is exactly. But, the evidence, I mean, the proof is really in the pudding. I mean, you can really see how different it is compared to its spring date. So that's the first option. If you're going to take it out and give it to a track that's probably going to get a sellout crowd, because, like I said, Wilkes County, they really, really care about their racing a whole lot, then do it. The second option, and this is like the middle option. This is kind of like it may happen, it may not happen, who knows. You could keep Bristol Dirt, but you're going to have to move it to a different date where it's more sunny, it's better weather, because nothing pains us race fans more than watching and anticipating the weekend action, and then Mother Nature comes in and just gives a bitch, no, you're not having your event this weekend. What are you talking about? No, I'm going to come in and I'm going to rain on your goddamn parade. That, nothing pains us more than to see that. I know I'm being kind of over-exaggerating when I say that, or I'm kind of being corny when I say that, but, I mean, it's the truth. It's the honest-to-God truth. So, you really have to... You have to take one for the team and just say, okay, we're going to move this to a different date. Now, NASCAR would have to rearrange their schedule a little bit, but, I mean, if they want to keep this show going, then you're going to have to move it to, a summer date or something like that, But then that gets called into question, because what a lot of people don't know is that dirt actually takes a very long time to dig up and completely remove. Yeah, it actually does. It takes a good amount of time to do that. And a lot of those workers at the track, they make it look easy, but I can guarantee you it's probably not that easy. It's really all give and take here. So, I mean, that's the middle option if I'm going to wrap it up here. So, the middle option for that. Then you have the most unlikely option. And it's getting rid of the dirt, getting rid of the Bristol date entirely and giving it to the Nashville Fairgrounds. Obviously, that's not going to happen just yet because, the Nashville Fairgrounds, that is not prepared for a cup race yet. And although getting passed by the Nashville Fair Board, the Don't you just love it when you're trying to film a podcast and someone just randomly revs up their motorcycle really loudly? Yeah, I see you, jackass. Jesus Christ. Anyways, but yeah, the track would not be ready in time. And besides, we don't even know if that's going to get passed yet. I mean, it did get past the National Fair boards at a 3-2 vote, but it has to get by the Metro City Council. So we're still depending on that, but it's most likely that it will happen, but not at this moment. Not at this moment. But I think the first likely option is very, very valuable. Well, not valuable, but most likely. Or if you're SMI's case, they're probably going to go with option D, which is just leave it entirely and just do the same thing you've been doing for the past 3 weeks. So, I mean, their decision, not mine. So, but yeah, it's really, SMI is going to have to come down to a decision here, within the next several months. I mean, they definitely have time, but at the same time, we don't have time to wait for answers, so we'll just see what happens. All right, so we are at the 21-minute and 23-second mark of the show, and that is my thoughts on the whole Bristol Dirt future, so to speak, and we have some other things we need to talk about on the show, and that is, it was announced during this week, Chase Elliott is back in the race car this weekend at Martinsville Speedway. For many race fans who were, oh Jesus, I almost tipped my mic over. I don't want that to happen. For anyone who didn't, or who wasn't aware of what was going on, and which I'm sure pretty much every single race fan does know what happened. Chase Elliott, during the weekend of the Las Vegas events, broke his tibia, his left tibia in his left leg, and he's had to sit out for a good period of time. I believe he missed. Chase has missed about I would say 6 races now. Correct me if I'm wrong. He has missed about 6 races now, and now he is cleared by doctors, and he is ready to go this weekend at Martinsville. Now when I actually found out that he broke his tibia, and I looked up on Google, and I actually looked up to see what the actual normal recovery time would be. It said about 3 to 6 months. Now, he actually went on to the Pat McAfee show, and NASCAR and Pat McAfee show. That's a combo you really don't hear a lot of these days. But Pat McAfee has mentioned NASCAR before. But anyways, he went on the show and described the injury, and apparently it was right above his, well, actually not above, below the center part of, I want to say he said it was below the center part of his knee. So the top part of your shin bone, which I've had shin splints before and they are not fun. I will say that. But obviously breaking and splints are 2 completely different things, so I can't really compare pain-wise there, obviously, so I'm not doing that, but it's a very, apparently I looked up the tibia, it bears a decent amount of your weight when it comes to human weight, I should say. I'm not an expert in the medical field, obviously. I don't have a degree, so don't complain and say, oh, you got this wrong, this, that, blah, 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 blah. Just don't call me on that. But it was a good enough, from what I hear, it was a good enough injury for him to be taken out for about 6 weeks or so. And going into this weekend for him, I'm really not expecting a win. Now, I will say Hendrick Motorsports is the team to beat right now. Yeah, shocker, right? They're obviously the top team in NASCAR once again. That's nothing different, I would say. But matter of fact, Chevy is the manufacturer to beat right now. You have Hendrick, you have RCR, you have Trackhouse. You got a decent amount of teams who are contending for wins, and it's pretty dangerous to see GM products just go out and just vroom vroom on everyone and just completely dominate. But even with Hendrick Motorsports' domination, and I've seen a lot of this on Twitter, I don't really expect Chase Elliott to win like as many people would say, oh, Chase, if Josh Berry can run in that 9 car well, then Chase Elliott's going to win 5 races in a row. Like, no, let's keep our expectations low. Top 5 or top 10, I can definitely see for Chase Elliott this weekend. And I'm not saying Chase can't win this weekend, but keep in mind, we don't know how hard Chase Elliott is really going to go in his race car yet. We don't really know yet. We will just have to wait and see. We'll just have to watch and observe. I mean, Chase Elliott could definitely prove me wrong in this show, and I'll come back and saying, you know what? I was completely wrong. Chase Elliott pushed the envelope, and he got it done, and he won at Martinsville. Now, Chase Elliott is not my pick to win at Martinsville this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, we'll get the race picks later on, but glad to see Chase Elliott back. Trust me, Chase Elliott fans, I know exactly what it's like to see your favorite driver be injured and not race. It sucks. Coming from a Kyle Busch fan, I know exactly what that's like. You are not alone in that, but glad to see that your driver's back. And I will admit, it was weird not hearing Chase Elliott's name during races or, seeing him on track. I mean, I would see the Napa 9 car on track, but then I realized, oh, wait, that's either Josh Berry or Jordan Taylor on track. That's not Awesome Chase from the same place as Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. You know what I mean? Yeah, a little throwback there for you guys if everybody remembers that call. Thank you, Mike Joy. But no, in all seriousness, glad to see Chase back on the track. It's really hard. It's definitely not fun to see a driver get injured and miss races and miss doing something with what they love, and that goes for every single athlete. But hopefully Chase's knee or tibia, I should say, is fully healed and he's ready to go and compete for wins again. So really good to see. Also, speaking of Chase Elliott, and I don't really know if this is really going to have a correlation effect on this, but I think this is going to be the first time of this show and of this season of this show where I have talked about ratings. Ratings so far for NASCAR. Let's keep it short, simple, and sweet. They have not been good. They have not been the best of ratings so far. A lot of these races are down, and which I kind of really expected because it's a new season and there's not really a lot of hype because last year in 2022 was probably the most hyped up NASCAR season in a while because you had the next gen car. You had a lot of things go on that season. You wondered, okay, well, how's it going to race? This, and that. And you got to that season. Now, with the 2023 season, you're not really expecting a whole lot of more excitement, so to speak. It's there. But, not saying the excitement isn't there. There's a lot of hype going into every single season. But it's really you kind of expected a decrease to happen, but I didn't really expect the Daytona 500 to go down in viewership in like 8%. That's what I'm gonna say. But viewership has gone down since. Now I'm not saying. Now a lot of people are like, well, why'd you bring up Chase Elliott? And why are you saying that there's a correlation? I'm not gonna play conspiracy theorist here, but it would not shock me if a lot of the viewership went down because Chase Elliott was not racing. I mean, to be fair, Chase Elliott, NASCAR's most popular driver for, I believe, I don't know how many years in a row now exactly. So I don't really know how many years exactly, but he's the most popular driver. He's been the most popular driver for about like 5 or 6 years now, I think. And when the most popular driver is now on track, a lot of people are gonna say, "Well, what the hell am I watching this for? This shit sucks." Like, why am I watching this? This is lame. Chase is not on track. And this is and from my perspective, even with my favorite driver out back in 2015, I was still watching races. I still kept up, but it did feel kind of difficult. It was different. I mean, I did cheer for some guys here and there, but it felt kind of lame here and there. Now, I'm not saying that's the complete reason why the viewership is going down. And it wouldn't shock me either, considering Chase Elliott is back in the 9 car this weekend. It would not completely shock me either if during the Cup race at Martinsville this upcoming Sunday, if there is a potential increase in viewership. But then again, I'm not saying it's going to fix the whole thing. It's like if you put a Band-Aid on a cancerous tumor. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm scrolling through. Oh my god. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, don't you love it when you get distracted on your phone and someone says that Kyle Sieg has that Carter Leonard hair? And then you get very. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting distracted as the show goes on. Trust me, this is not filler. But, yeah, it would not shock me if. Well, let me go back to my point. I believe Chase Elliott would with him returning, it wouldn't shock me if the viewership kind of spiked up a little bit. Not entirely. I definitely think that there would be a decrease, but it would be like putting a Band-Aid over a cancerous tumor. Yes, that's the Slap Shoe reference, and I kind of feel bad for stealing it. Sorry, Slap, if you're watching this horrible podcast, by the way. Why am I calling my podcast horrible? I like doing this. This is fun. But yeah, that's my opinion on the whole viewership thing. I know it wasn't really a whole lot to talk about, but it was kind of all over the place, so to speak. You know, I want to be shocked at some ratings and say that oh my god, it's a complete decline. But at the same time, I mean, it's not shocking. You kind of expected it, so yeah. So let's keep that in mind. Boy, we are already 33 minutes in, and I've already talked about a lot of the major topics of the show. And I kind of did mention in the opening of the show that this wasn't really going to be a really really long episode like last week's. I do like long episodes, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, when you are kind of by yourself, it really takes like the time and energy out of it. So not really the time and energy, but like you don't really have a whole lot to you like when other people aren't around you or not talking to you, it just kind of feels a little bit kind of and like you already discussed it and you want to move on. So yeah, this is not going to be the longest episode of the day, ladies and gentlemen. But let's get into some news and discussions for this week. And oh god, I wish you guys could see. I wish you guys could see. I wish you guys could see what I was laughing at. It totally relates to racing. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Let's get into the news segment of the week, and let's talk about some things. Since the Cody Ware video released, Cody Ware has been arrested again. I'm not gonna talk a whole lot about it, but yeah, he just been arrested again. I don't know why. I don't know how, but yeah, let's just leave it be. Leave it be. All right, and but since Cody Ware is absent, is Noted. The 51 now has a driver for this weekend, and it will be piloted by Zane Smith. I honestly expected this to happen. I mean, it kind of really makes sense. Zane Smith is already making Cup starts in for Front Row Motorsports in the 38 and 36, depending on what weekends either him or Todd Gilliland are running. By the way, let's talk about Todd Gilliland for a second. And I wanted to bring this up during the Bristol recap, but I actually forgot to. In the past 4 races, Todd Gilliland has not had a worse finish than 15th. That is consistency for a ride. The 38 car for Front Row Motorsports, not a race winning, by far not a championship competitive or a race winning team, but for that ride standards, that's pretty solid. And I believe Todd Gilliland has a couple top 10s under his belt. And I think he's proven why Front Row Motorsports is kind of making the mistake of saying, hey, you're not going to make me run the full schedule. All right, I'm just going to race my ass off. This, and that. So, props to Todd Gilliland. I will say that, what a fantastic job that he has done so far, this season. This is his, this is his sophomore season in the Cup, but he is proving that he's pretty solid and he has talent behind him. So good job, Todd Gilliland. But yeah, But going back to Zane Smith in the 51 real quick, like I said, it only makes sense. I mean, try to get as much experience as you can. Try to get as much Cup races as you can. I don't know if he will be the driver in that ride moving forward, so to speak. I was hearing rumors of potential rotational drivers. I mean, Rodney Childers even talked about how there's rumors that possibly a guy like, I don't know, maybe Ty Majeski may be involved. And he even jokingly said Lane Riggs, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the Lane Riggs video that I posted on the community posts of the channel, it will be coming out sometime next week, or at least the week after. I want to get that video done. Trust me, guys, it's a new series coming to the channel. I don't want this channel just to be filled up with the podcast. I want to branch out and do a lot more content for you guys. So I appreciate it. And but going back to that, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a rotational mix, but if they're gonna keep Zane Smith in the 51, I honestly wouldn't mind that. I mean, Zane Smith, it looks to be that he's gonna be in the Cup Series next year. What ride that will be is yet to be determined. But it's it's the smartest move, I believe, on not only Rick Ware Racing's part, but on Ford's part. I mean, just give the guys some more, experience, I guess. That is perfectly all right with me. All right, so that does it for the news segment. Not a whole lot to talk about this week as compared to the ass load that was last week, whether that was appeals, penalties, all that stuff. So, it's, it's, yeah. All right, so now we're getting down to the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, it's going to be like an over 40-minute show, I believe. So, not a long episode, but there wasn't a whole lot to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. So, just wanted to keep it short, simple, and sweet. But there will be longer episodes, don't get me wrong. But now let's enter the race picks section of the show, ladies and gentlemen. And tonight is the Mid-Ass Seafood Place 200. Oh, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Long John Silver's 200. Yeah, and in case you didn't know, I do not like Long John Silver's. That place is utterly disgusting. I would not even consider it authentic seafood. Yeah, Chef Carter, here to serve you, ladies and gentlemen. But it is the Long John Silver's 200. Zane Smith won the pole for this race, and he is a past winner at Martinsville, and I am going to pick him. I am going to pick Zane Smith to win this race. So far, I think Zane Smith this season is picking up right where he left off, if I have to say so myself. He's won like the 2 exact same races that he has started out this season with. So, I mean, pretty funny. And, but yeah, if you ask me, I think Zane Smith is going to be the truck to beat tonight. Now, that's if we get the truck race in tonight. By the time you're watching this, if the truck race is going on, then okay, it's going on, but it may be raining, so who knows? We're about little less than 2 hours away from green flag action on FS1. So yeah, but if the truck race does go on tonight, Zane Smith is my pick. Now we get into Saturday's action, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Call 811 Before You Dig 250. Literally one of the most weirdest race names that I have ever seen in my life, but hey, you know what? You do you, bud. Last year's winner of that race was Brandon Jones, and I was going to pick Brandon Jones for this race, considering he is a defending winner at Martinsville and he actually runs decently good there, but so far, Brandon Jones for Junior Motorsports this year, it's not been the most fruitful experience. I mean, has that guy even gotten a top 10 yet? Like, I don't know, to be honest with you. But I will pick a guy who actually came close to winning here in the fall last year, and it wasn't talked a whole lot about. But he's actually having a really good start to his rookie campaign, ladies and gentlemen. Even though he only has one win, 2 top 5s, and 2 top 10s, I don't really think the other finishes should really dictate how good this driver has been. In my opinion, I think Sammy Smith will win the Xfinity Series race at Martinsville. I think Sammy Smith. Now, I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, well, he hasn't really finished in top 10 in majority of the races he's been," but I really don't think that should dictate how good he has been at some of these races. He's ran up front at some of these races. He ran up front at Auto Club, Vegas. He won at Phoenix. He was running up front at Richmond until JGR decided to do the dumb boy ass strategy. So if they play the card, which I'm sure they'll play the cards right, and if Sammy Smith does have a really, really fast car, then he could win this race. So, yeah, Sammy Smith is my pick to win at Martinsville in the Xfinity Series race. All right, and now let's get down to Sunday's race. And for once, it is not a Martinsville nighttime race in the spring. It is the NOCO 400 at Martinsville Speedway. It is 400 miles, 400 laps. I didn't really have to look far with this pick. To be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I really did not have to look far with this pick. And he literally won this race last year in the spring, and he's off to a really, really hot start to the year. Ladies and gentlemen, my pick to win at Martinsville this weekend is William Byron. I think William Byron will capture his 3rd win of the season. This will be the most wins that William Byron has had in any season so far. It is tied with 2, both last year and this year, after he went back-to-back at both Vegas and Phoenix. And Hendrick Motorsports as a whole, besides William Byron, has done a phenomenal job so far this year. And I think that train keeps rolling, but it will be William Byron's day once again, and I think William Byron is going to get the job done here at Martinsville. All right, so pretty solid picks for this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoy the races, and again, not really a whole long episode, but once again, it was a pretty solid day, if I had to say so myself. Now, a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, where's Adam? Where's X? Where's Seth?" Guys, they are not away from this project. It's just that, sometimes you just got to do things yourself. And that's not a knock on anyone, I am going to have more guests on this show, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just going to be me throughout the whole entire season, even though it's been that way for the past 4 weeks now. Just some guys are busy with some things, and we'll just get down to business next week like we normally do. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching the Checkers or Wreckers podcast. I am your host, Carter Leonard, and I will see you guys next time.